So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? Well, listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Welcome back, everyone, to Call Me CEO. This is your host, Camille Walker, and I am so excited because today we are going to hear from Hilary DeCesare, who is the third-time international best-selling author, also the author of Relaunch, Spark Your Heart to Ignite Your Life. And I am so thrilled to have you, Hilary, on the show today. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, this is so much fun. I love it. I wish we had actually recorded the first, almost 20, 25 minutes of our conversation because it was so good. So we'll have to backtrack a bit.
I think so too. That's partly my fault. I always have to pause people and say, oh, no, we can't say anymore because I feel like it's cheating people to hear about the magic. Now, we did talk about kids. We talked about life experience, but tell us about your heart. Where did you start in business? And take us some years back into what led you to the path of coaching women and helping them discover that ignite within their heart.
So it really was an interesting beginning because for so many, and I'm sure maybe even this is you, we sometimes just let things happen and evolve. And sometimes you're not even really sure, how did I get on this circuitous path and end up where I am? And thank God I did, because it's really amazing now. But there were times where I was like, oh God, please step in right now. I need a little help. And so I started in pre-med and decided about my first year, I did not want to do it. I was going that route because my dad was a doctor and my grandfather was a doctor. So for many out there, you might be still in a career that you're not even sure why, but it just kind of was like, it just seemed like the natural path. And then from there, I realized I really wanted to do something that was more along the business entrepreneur route. And so what was a really great experiment, I guess I should say, is I went to my advisor at school, and my dad had said, you're out of state, it's expensive. You can stay in that school as long as you get out in 4 years. So I'm like, and so my advisor said, hey, you got two choices. You can go psychology or anthropology. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm better at dealing with the mind than I am with digging up bones and thinking about, all of that. So I'm like, okay, let's do it. I ended up loving it. I mean, it lit me up. And then my path kind of unfolded where I ended up in the Silicon Valley. I got a job at a high-tech company. I spent 10 years there. And this is a girl who knew nothing about tech. I didn't even know how to type when I first got to this place, because I had used a woman named the Phantom Typer. In the middle of the night, I would drop off my paper, and in the morning, she would have it back for me. And I'd be like, oh my God, it sounds even better than the way I wrote it. I can never learn how to type. It doesn't do me justice. So I ended up getting into this life. And then the president of Oracle, who I was incredibly close with after almost 10 years, he came to me and said he was going to a venture capital firm called Kleiner Perkins and asked if I would come and coach his portfolio companies that they had invested in. And next thing you know, there's an icon. His name is John Doerr. He had his portfolio executives. And next thing you know, I had this huge room. I didn't know what the heck I was doing from a coaching perspective. And fast forward 2 decades later, I've never stopped coaching, but I did really catch the entrepreneurial bug during the time I was coaching all of these execs on putting frameworks together for scalability and growth. And I decided it was at that time I needed to venture out and create something on my own. And that was a tech company to keep kids safe online. There were some other ones before that ended up being alongside. I was doing multiple companies at the same time. One was a consulting company, which is now called coaching. But it was just this whole awesome way that it came to be. But let me tell you, there were a lot of bumps along the road. And when I was just starting one of the biggest ventures that I did, where I raised almost $10 million from venture capital and a bunch of angel investors, I ended up going through a divorce, and I had three little kids, and I was feeling like I wasn't good at anything. I wasn't being a good mom. I wasn't being a good, in a fiduciary responsible way. I wasn't, being at the company for all day, all night, like you hear about people living in their garages. And it really took a toll. It took a
Mm,
toll. And you said, how did I end up where I am? Relaunch has so much significance to me and the path that led me to where I am. And it was, if I count, I think I have over 30 significant relaunches, from divorce to career changes to melanoma, lots of, kid health issues. And then there were both my parents died. My mom died very
mm,
suddenly from cancer, and they were heavy duty. I think I share in the book that I moved. I don't even think I counted the times that my dad moved, but I think I moved almost 10 different houses
wow.
while I was growing up, and it was constant change. And when my parents got divorced, I was moving all around. I was in LA, I was in San Francisco, and it just was this crazy relaunch time. And I realized that, what was I doing? Because some of my friends would call and be like, I need your help. Oh my God, Hilary, you got to help me get through this. I know you've been through that. And I'm like, yeah, I've been through that, and I've been through that. And okay, I did that. And all of a sudden I'm like, okay, I kind of feel like I'm like the relaunch queen. And do I really want to be? Because is this a good thing? It was, yeah, it's an interesting journey.
Wow. Well, I think I love that you put it in terms of relaunch. When I talk to women and their journeys in different periods of their life, I talk about seasons a lot because,
Mm.
dependent upon women and what we go through with raising children and careers and moving and divorce, like you said, it's a season of life. But I like that you put it in terms of relaunching.
Mm.
And I'm curious, what with going through so much relaunching as a child, especially, and then into adulthood, what are some of those key factors that you learned about relaunching your life to be able to keep momentum, to be able to start again?
Such a great question, because I think when you think about a setback, you think about kind of the bounce back. When you think about a relaunch, there are positive relaunches too,
Mhm.
right? When you have the kids, when you even, get remarried, as I did, and now I have two incredible stepchildren. Yeah, it's a pack of five now, and when we get them together, and if they, my goodness, if they bring their boyfriends, girlfriends, it's like it is it is like we're having a conference. It's incredible. But that's the thing, there are the positives as well as the negatives. And when you look at a relaunch as a change in your direction, a change in your path, you might be going through, and I always like to take people through their decades, like, look at it. How's the last, 10 years been for you? What relaunches? Have you gotten married? Have you had children? Are there other significant factors in your life? And where I like to take people is, you can have a relaunch, a transition, but let's make sure there's a transformation. Let's make sure there's a silver lining to it. And I can honestly say, I have a podcast called, it used to be called the Silver Line Relaunch. Now it's just the Relaunch Podcast. As we got bigger and bigger, it just, can we drop the silver lining?